This week on the final TT show for 2023, Intel's new Core Ultra is here. Sony is making its own DLSS for PS5. Twitch is okay, but not okay with nudity. Apple's foldable iPad is rumored. The world's first supercomputer that doubles as a human brain is here. Microsoft could be launching its next-gen Xbox in 2026, and a lot more. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the TT Show. My name is Jak Connor. I'm a hardware editor over at Tweaktown, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Kosta gaming hardware editor at Tweaktown.
How you going, my friend?
Pretty well, as you can see. It's the season.
It is. It's the merry season. I don't own any Christmas gear. That's why I'm not wearing any, but you do look dashing, I must say.
Mm-hmm. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yeah.
Where'd you pick that one up?
This is from Kmart, so it's...
Nice. I mean, they do have a nice selection over there. This week is yet another jam-packed week for news. We have a lot Yeah, it is our final episode for 2023, and we have a lot of stories to get into. But before we do that, I want to encourage everyone to go please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Each week we put out new weekly news stories covering the news, and plenty of clips going up onto all of the social channels. Go check them out on TikTok, Instagram. I mean, where else are we putting them? Facebook.
Wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And,
all of that.
That's episode 16, and I think we're getting into the swing of it now.
Yeah.
We're in the groove.
Mm-hmm.
And can't wait to do a full year next year.
Oh, yeah. Next year is going to be
16,
massive.
We should be hit to episode 50 at some point.
Oh man, it's gonna be crazy. But enough of that. Let's get into the news. Okay, what are we starting off with this week?
Well, So I mean, even though we're basically a week before Christmas and the holiday season, the news doesn't stop. Obviously, I mean, when we come back in January, we're going to be deep in CES because that's when CES takes place. So there's going to be so much news around that.
Oh my god, I'm going to shackle myself to my desk. I'm gonna be just a drone writing all the news for CES. I'm so excited. But anyway, I need to write a note about that because I want to talk to you about that a bit later on. Go on about the story.
So there's one major, I guess, CPU or GPU, that sort of chipset launch for the year, and that's Intel Core Ultra. Intel Core Ultra is their rebranding. So you know how they're moving away from Core i7, Core i9 to now just Core Ultra. I mean, but it's still going to have it's just the naming. But the Core Ultra series is just for mobile at this stage, so laptops. And it's using the Media Lake architecture, which is Intel's most efficient to date. It's the Intel 4 process. It's 7 nanometer, which, isn't the most cutting edge, as you know, like Apple's on
2,
3, and they're going to be on 2 next year or something, or the year after. Yeah, so they're the latest iPhones are the first 3 nanometer devices to hit the market. So this is Apple's own chipset, their own technology, and they've just hit 7 nanometer. But Media Lake is a architectural redesign of their mobile CPU architecture. So you've got different tiles for different things. So you've got like their performance cores, efficient cores, and that sort of stuff. But it has like the SOC tile, which is the main processor. It has an NPU for AI, so it has dedicated AI processing. It has a Jeep graphics tile, which you can have Intel Arc graphics on it, which is the first time it's integrated into the CPU. And there's a dedicated I/O tile, which is for Thunderbolt and high-speed USB and high-speed PCIe Gen 5. So it's pretty much like a chiplet design. So it has like multiple different, which they call tiles on the same chip, and so there's a whole bunch of laptops now hitting the market. If they're not out now, they'll be out within the next weeks or in the early new year from pretty much all the big players. And with the announcement, Intel said this is the first Core Ultra this is the first wave of dedicated AI PCs to hit the market, with like 200 plus, models. Now, AI PC is going to be the big term next year. Like probably at CES, that's all you're going to hear about. And it just comes down to AI hardware. So either in the CPU, like AMD's doing a Ryzen refresh for mobile that's going to have AI hardware in it, or it's going to be like GPU based. Like an NVIDIA Studio laptop is essentially an AI PC, really, because it's got Tensor, RT, and all that sort of stuff that has access to. So they're kind of like branding these AI PCs, which is fair enough. But to me, the most exciting thing is that there's a lot of the feedback on the Core Ultra so far is that it's there's some people that are impressed with it, some people not so impressed. I kind of sit more on the impressed side because of the efficiency gains. Like it's Intel's most efficient, but like it is comparable to the Ryzen Phoenix mobile CPUs. That the mobile chip that's in the Asus ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go gaming handhelds.
Yes. Yep.
So they're those dedicated Ryzen chips that have like Radeon graphics in them, and and they're decent for like handhelds. Like you can actually game most modern games on them.
I think they were at the Asus booth in Computex, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So the ROG Ally is a really very cool device.
Yeah, very cool.
I mean, because when it comes to like this sort of hardware, I'm more interested on the gaming side.
Of course.
Especially when it comes to like GPUs and stuff. So like with the ARC graphics, and it only draws like about 28 watts in it when it's in its efficient mode. It actually is more efficient than that Ryzen chip that's in the ROG Ally, and game performance is on average a bit better too. So this is interesting for like gaming handhelds. Like gaming handhelds are going to explode in the next. Well, they're already starting to. Like we've seen with like Asus and Lenovo coming in, and now with these Core Ultra chips, you're just going to see so many like little like gaming handhelds just pop up, or little ultra thin laptops that can handle gaming, which is really cool. Or mini PCs that'll have this chip in it as well. So I think it's going to be that it's cool that Intel is. You could like be the cynic and say they've just caught up to Ryzen now with like the mobile graphics but they're the first to put the AI stuff, but Ryzen's doing it as well exactly at the same time. So like now that it seems like they're back on the level playing field when it comes to like mobile processing. Which is good.
Okay. So are we going to learn more about this at CES, or is this the entire announcement?
It's a full announcement. So
this is the full launched
and
okay.
Out.
Wow. All right. So would we expect to see some laptops and etc.? Is that already out now? Like following this announcement, or is that still most of them to be unveiled?
They're basically being rolled out. So like they announced, like the launch was like a few days ago, but like Asus, MSI, Lenovo, Dell, Gigabyte,
all the big dogs.
They've all got like product pages up. Like there's just so many, and like like when they announce a new chip, like when Intel announced a new CPU, like there's just like, especially for mobile, it's like here's like
40 listings,
500 different laptops that have it. So it's like I don't know, So like
true.
Like it might take like 3-4 weeks to get here.
Yeah, that's fair.
But they're here, and they'll be. I think like they're predominantly just for like ultra thin laptops and stuff. So like
Surfaces and trying to think of the other ones. Would these go in tablets? Maybe. Possibly.
Yeah. Like tablets. They can go into like that's why we'll start seeing them pop up in like gaming handhelds or like little gaming handhelds.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with CPU technology. It's a very dark spot of mine. I'm quite uncomfortable talking about it because I don't know much about it at all.
That's why I kind of focus on the
ARC side of it.
Side. Yeah. So the ARC side is kind of cool because they're bringing it to like it's integrated into the graphics. But what's weird is that they've got models with like the old, like Intel have always had like integrated graphics as an option, and like it's never been like great because it's like running a game off your CPU is never ideal. So they've got models with ARC and without. I thought they would have just made
done it across the board.
Yeah, across the board, which is strange. So there's like models without ARC, and there's and the models with ARC has its own like AI hardware in there as well. So like Intel's upscaling XeSS super sampling. Which will be kind of cool if it was widely adopted. So then like, for gaming, you would get that performance bump at the same time. And what they highlighted is that like this is another cool thing. Like it's also like with DLSS as well as that when it's running, you're essentially more efficient because you're running at a lower res and upscaling and using AI and rendering at a shorter sort of like time frame. So it's actually uses less power when you're using the XeSS. So then you'll have longer battery life. Because when it comes to like laptops, like it's not just performance. It's not the fact that this game can hit now 68 frames per second or 90 or 100.
Yeah.
It's like how long can it sustain that for?
Yeah. Most is like 2 hours or something like that.
If you're lucky. Like now it's like an hour and a half max, I think, for most laptops.
That's rough.
Laptops. It's rough, yeah.
Yeah, that's rough.
Like that's why like low power APUs like this are kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I like it. It fits a very niche category. So would this also compete with the rumored Ampere chip that's meant to go into the Nintendo Switch 2?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a APU sock, like where it's like a CPU and with GPU hardware. That's kind of like it falls under the same sort of like family.
So they're directly competing, NVIDIA and Intel.
Not necessarily, because NVIDIA don't release these chips for like laptops. So basically, you're gonna get Core Ultra laptops, right, with Arc graphics. But then there are already existing like models like Core Ultras with like RTX 4070s and 4080 laptop GPUs.
Okay.
Because the 4070 laptop GPU is going to be way more powerful than this.
Yeah.
Because remember I reviewed that, was it the Arc 580?
Months
ago, and there was that entry level 1080p gaming one where it was like 179 US, and like it wasn't like earth shattering. It's not like it's not the most powerful thing in the world, but that's like what you're getting. You're getting like entry level 1080p gaming with integrated graphics, because that's essentially, I mean, all you can really expect on something that's like on the CPU, that's not its own dedicated GPU.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm with you now. Right. Yeah, it's the Sparkle.
Yeah, the Sparkle one. It's a cool looking one.
It's a very cool card. Yeah, I remember. We showed that on the pod.
Yeah, I've actually got their Sparkle 770, like their Intel's most flagship one that I'm testing at the moment, and it's blue as well. Like it's like a cool aesthetic that they got going for those ones.
I love blue, and it says Sparkle on the like where the connectivity is put in. Oh, that's sick. Well, that is very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's cool. It's cool to see.
Leans into our next story, which is also Intel based, which is all frame generation. So, as we know, DLSS 3 was a pretty big thing for 2023 PC gaming.
For sure.
We got to see it in... Also, like it was late 2022 when the 40 series launched with the 4090 and the 4080, but this year we saw the 4070 and the 4060 Ti's and pretty much the full stack, and they all supported DLSS. And it's proprietary, obviously, to the 40 series. But yeah, I mean, frame generation, like it's like it boosts performance, and then with Reflex, it doesn't increase latency. And then recently we've had AMD's FSR3 frame generation technology launch. It was a little rocky, but its most recent inclusion in Ubisoft's Avatar games is apparently really, really good.
Okay.
I've got it installed, and I'm going to be playing that over the break a bit to see how it runs and stuff like that. And so so it seems that it is kind of like a buzzword. I mean, it's easy to market this sort of thing, right? Like for AMD, when you show FSR3, right, you show on the left-hand side of the screen, here's a game running at 64 frames per second. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, here's the same game with this tick turned on, this mode, and now you've got 170.
Yeah.
And you look there and you go, okay, that's a decent chunk of...
Seems like magic. It seems like magic, yeah.
That's kind of like what DLSS 3 was. So then AMD's got their own version, and this was like out of the blue. So there was like an event in Sydney, actually, SIGGRAPH, which is kind of like a computer graphics sort of like industry showcase for like film, like even like visual effects and any sort of like computer graphics software and things like that.
Yeah.
So Intel were there, and they released a paper basically showing that they're working on a version of Intel of frame generation called Extra SS for their XeSS framework, which is a whole bunch of acronyms. But basically,
who comes up with these names?
I don't know.
Jesus, go on. Sorry, it just bothers me that these companies can't name anything that they make, like gaming monitors, the like CPUs. It's all so confusing. It's so hard to keep track of all of this stuff, and I'm in the trenches of it.
If you know, you know, and if you don't, that's why it's like with like if you stay out of the loop of like what's happening in like CPUs, right? Like outside of like the basic, whenever you see like a story on what's happening like in workstation CPUs, Threadrippers and Intel Xeons and things like that, like you just see these things, like it's just it might as well just be in another language, really.
Yeah, literally. That's how it feels. Go on, sorry, I cut you off with my little rant about naming.
So Intel released a paper saying that they're working on frame generation, but they're doing it a little bit differently.
Of course.
Kind of interesting. So it is AI based. So they are leveraging AI hardware, but maybe like XeSS, there'll be a version that works without AI hardware. So Intel's, DLSS technology, if you run it on an Arc GPU, it uses the AI hardware on the Arc GPU, and based on what I've seen and what others are seeing as well, it's as close to DLSS in terms of image quality as anybody else has gotten. So it is better than AMD's FSR approach, which doesn't require AI hardware. But there is a version of Intel's tech, that XeSS, where you can enable on NVIDIA GPUs and Radeon GPUs that doesn't use the AI hardware, and apparently that doesn't look quite as good.
Okay.
But there is like some differences. So this might be the same sort of case where like on an Arc GPU it'll look better than on non-Arc GPU. But anyway, the main thing is that this is where it gets like technical, and I had to skim through this paper and then a few other reports people just to understand it. So frame generation technology, how it works on DLSS is that, so like the AI looks at the previous frame that was generated, the previous number of frames, and then it creates like motion vectors, so like it knows where things working. So like, if a character's running from one side of the screen to another, like after like 10 frames, it can predict where it's going to go.
Yeah, it projects where the frames are going to land.
So where it's going to insert a frame. Yeah, but the way it works actually works backwards and forward as well. So like it has its current frame and a previous frame and predictive frame, and then as it keeps going, then it inserts a frame. Anyway, it takes so much data in, and that's called frame interpolation, or whatever the technique. Intel's version is extrapolation, and what that means is that it's only looking at previous frames only, I think, is from my understanding. And the reason why they're not, and that will mean that there'll be more artifacts potentially, and it won't be as good. The image quality won't be as good. But Intel are saying that they think it hits the right balance because there'll be less latency than the other method, which is what NVIDIA and AMD are using, and which is why NVIDIA and AMD have to inject latency reduction things in there. Like NVIDIA has reflex technology, which is all about reducing system latency for rendering, and AMD has anti-lag, which is their latency reduction. And you have to use that technology, otherwise a frame generation image will look super smooth, but it will just be clunky. Like you'll just notice that, like you move, you press, if you're playing with a controller, you press left, and then it takes that little bit, you can tell that like there's input lag.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, like when you, like on certain TVs, like the first OLEDs, like from LG, I think, had like not great input latency, right? It was like borderline. Something like 38, 40, even almost like 40 milliseconds or something, which is like not good enough for like playing competitive games, right? Like that's just too much latency. So like it's kind of like you would get used to it, but there'll be like a slight delay between when you press a button and something happens on screen. And that's the latency that they have to reduce when it comes to frame generation, because it'll look super smooth, but it won't be super responsive, which is, defeats the purpose of it. So Intel's version apparently hits that sort of middle ground where it doesn't impact latency because of of what they're doing. But then they use AI and something called warping to be able to get image quality at a point where it's acceptable, or where they say it's better than normal TAA anti-aliasing, which would be impressive if to see it working in a game. So basically, they just released this research paper at this event, and like it outlines exactly how it works, and it uses their super sampling, their AI-based upscaling, their DLSS with their frame generation or frame extrapolation to boost performance. And they show a couple of examples like screenshots and things like that. And and it looks decent enough. But screenshots are one thing, in motion is something else altogether. So but the fact that Intel has its own frame gen tech means that this technology is going to define a lot of gaming for the next couple of years for sure. Like like Starfield just officially got DLSS 3 support. I think Baldur's Gate's got it. Most major releases now, like Diablo's got it. Like most major PC game releases this year have got DLSS 3. Call of Duty's got it. You can play Call of Duty multiplayer with DLSS 3 frame generation.
That's awesome.
I'm not sure how like. I mean, that would add some latency, but like I don't know, like. But apparently, like there has been like people saying, "Oh, this is terrible." Like apparently, it works great.
Well, good. So, I mean, it should. It's a freaking $1 billion game or whatever.
It's like free performance. So like, AMD's FSR3 just went open source as well. So developers can now and modders can now put it into games that'll work.
That's awesome. That is
Intel
awesome.
has its version, and apparently they're potentially launching their next gen graphics cards next year as well. So this kind of potentially means that they're not backing away from releasing like the next gen ARC GPUs next year as well. So like they'll have this technology ready for that potentially.
Do you think they'll release a beefier card to compete with like a more of a 4080 or something like that? Or do you think they'll aim still from low to high to mid-range to high mid-range?
Yeah, the rumors point to that it'll be mid-range, that the card will be a basically like a 4070 or a 4070 Ti maximum equivalent.
Okay.
Which is decent. It's still powerful. Like, I mean, if you bought a 4070 came out this year. So if you bought one this year, I mean, I think it's the most popular, or as close to I think it's the most, according to the Steam hardware survey, the most popular GPU in the 40 series because because it's powerful and not ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. So if it released with this technology integrated into the chip, that would be. Do you think they could do that?
Yeah.
Integrate some in, like, have the CPU. I think we talked about this earlier. Like, have the CPU talk to the GPU, and then you get more performance out of that. If you're running both Intel.
I think so, because their new CPUs, right? But I don't think they're going to just. I think they know that. It's an uphill battle, right? So whatever... you're
investing in NVIDIA.
Yeah, whatever tech you have on the CPU side will need to work with NVIDIA GPU hardware, AMD GPU hardware, and their own, right? So you wouldn't just release something like this or something that will boost performance if you have an Intel CPU, but only if you have an Intel Arc GPU as well, or an Intel GPU as well. So like they did something with because they released their desktop new for like 14900K and those sort of CPUs like about a couple months ago, and they had some software tool that basically would boost performance in games by like in some cases up to like 10-20%.
Wow.
At 1080p or in 1440p, and that was like agnostic, like it didn't require Intel GPU hardware or things like that. So they're optimizing, I think, for all hardware.
Right.
Which is the way to do it.
Good. I mean, that's what you want. I'm always worried about like companies going like really gatekeepy.
Yeah, I mean that's the main drawback to DLSS is that it's gatekeepy, right?
Yeah.
It's like restricted. DLSS 3 is restricted to just one generation of hardware, the most common the newest generation, the 40 series. And if remember when DLSS first came out, it needed AI hardware, and it was only available on the then brand new 20 series. And now it's available. Then obviously DLSS works on the 20 series, the 30 series, and now the 40 series. So now DLSS isn't so much of a major issue for NVIDIA graphics card owners, because if you own a NVIDIA GPU for gaming, odds are it's going to be from the 2030 or 30 series or 40 series.
Yeah.
Like sure. It could be older or whatever the case is, but like if you're really into gaming, then the majority of the NVIDIA cards out there are DLSS capable.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, Intel, like you said earlier, they're definitely not backing down from the AI frame gen race or whatever you want to call it. It's, yeah, man, these names are all over the place, aren't they? I'm just looking at them in your article. It's just,
dude, like God. Don't even try. Like, I try to actually just have a quick read while I talk, because it doesn't even make sense, because like I had to just freaking learn this, because so the way it frame generator, the way it kind of like works is so confusing.
Yeah. Is that all you had on that story? Okay. Yeah, well, that's very exciting. A lot out from Intel this week.
Yeah, and there's before we switch gears, I think the next story is kind of related.
Yep. For sure.
Which is PlayStation, Sony making its own DLSS for the PS5. Now, this one falls into like what we've been hearing about. So, based on the amount of rumors that there are out there, there's going to be a PS5 Pro coming out next year, September or November 2024. But there is going to be a PS5 Pro. It's just like the PS4 Pro before it. It's going to be a beefier, more powerful console. Now, the way the PS4 Pro worked was that they essentially just doubled the GPU but kept the same CPU. And so in order to be able to, because at that time 4K TVs kind of like hit the market, and the PS5 was still a few years away, so it was to cater for all the early adopters to 4K. So the PS5 Pro seems to be like a little bit different in terms of like why they're making it. So like, they had a reason to make the PS4 Pro, and there was a reason why Xbox made the One X as well. It's because 4K TVs were here, and the consoles just weren't capable of stepping up to the plate. So with the PS5 Pro, apparently it's all about just being able to like render these next gen visuals. And the timing obviously lines up perfectly with GTA 6. And one of those things is ray tracing, right?
Oh, yes.
And this is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting, because the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they both run AMD hardware. And the PS5's has a custom chip, has an AMD CPU and GPU in there. And it's using RDNA 2, quote unquote, in the existing PS5, whereas the Xbox is definitely RDNA 2 based. I'm pretty sure, even like it wouldn't be RDNA 3. Yeah. So the existing Radeon GPUs are RDNA 3, and there's going to be RDNA 4 next year or the year after. But anyway, so AMD's ray tracing hardware acceleration isn't as good as NVIDIA's. That's a fact.
Yeah.
GeForce RTX, it's in the name. They were there. They were doing it like 3 years before everyone else, and everybody's like, why are you bothering with ray tracing? Nobody cares about ray tracing. Why are you bothering with AI upscaling? What is this? Like, no, nobody wants this. But they were ahead of the game, and they deserve the credit for that. So Sony, and AMD have been behind. AMD's FSR, which is available, FSR 2, the latest version, is available on Xbox, but is not really quite available on Sony's PS5 because of the architecture. I think it's a little bit different, or a little bit older. But anyway, so the PS5 Pro is essentially going to be using more advanced AMD technology like RDNA 3, and people saying like their ray tracing hardware that they're going to release on their next gen GPUs. So like the stuff that's not even out on PC, they're going to be using ray tracing hardware from PC graphics cards that probably won't be out for another year or two in the PS5 Pro, right?
Wow.
And this is almost like an indictment on AMD's being so far behind when it comes to their FSR upscaling tech, is that Sony is putting their own AI hardware in there, and going to integrate their own AI-based upscaler. And the headline is, of course, Sony is developing its own DLSS, because DLSS is machine learning based and generative AI based upscaling.
So they're not waiting around for AMD.
No, they're not.
They are not waiting around. Wow. Yeah,
so they want double the ray tracing performance.
And they're like, AMD, if you can't do it, we're just going to put our own stuff in.
You can't do it just in a mid-gen refresh, right? Let's say that's like a generational upgrade. Like that's like a massive generational upgrade.
Yeah,
that's
well,
like
if you're getting 20% performance, if you're getting 20% performance with the tech, that's essentially a new generation.
So what they're getting is they're trying to get probably about 40-50% with ray tracing by leveraging next gen AMD ray tracing hardware.
Yeah.
But in order to push that to hit this double the ray tracing performance target, which is basically 4K 60 amazing visuals with ray tracing, they have possibly looked at FSR and said it's not good enough. We're going to develop our own DLSS. Or
is that
our
better?
Own AI-based upscaling.
Do you think Sony can just whip one up by the time that the PS5 Pro comes out, or is this rolled out in a? Yeah, I know, but let's say this is true.
I think they can. Yeah,
if by September they're going to whip up something that's better than FSR.
They've probably been working on it. Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's insane.
Intel's like machine learning stuff. Like they got XeSS, their upscaler to perform better than FSR because, like, AMD, like it's not like they've done the wrong, like they're like 10 steps behind or 3 steps behind, but they chose the path of being platform agnostic. So FSR 2, the most latest version, uses motion vectors. It does all this fancy stuff that DLSS did when DLSS became like a must-have sort of tech. But they're using an algorithm that doesn't require AI hardware, so it means it can work across any sort of hardware. And the trade-off is that the image quality suffers.
Yeah.
At 1080p and 1440p, it just isn't quite there. At 4K, I would argue that it's worth putting on in most cases. But with DLSS, like what I learned with the 4060 and the 4060 Ti is that you can put it on at 1080p.
Yeah.
With quality mode. And be like, yeah, sure, it's not quite, because at a lower resolution, you got less data. So it's, at 4K, DLSS quality is arguably better than native rendering because of the way the way the process works. At 1440p and 1080p, it's so close that it's be like, you just look at the performance gain, you go, yeah, why would I turn this off?
Yeah, fair
enough.
Whereas
FSR isn't. And Sony's, and that, AI is everything now. And Sony, if they want to be cutting edge, and they want this, they've got these lofty goals for the PS5 Pro, and they're thinking like, their architecture's like, let's put AI hardware in there. And AMD adding AI hardware to like their Ryzen CPUs, and so the upgraded CPU, the chipset in here, will have AI hardware in it. And if it's got AI hardware in it, and that's what they're using, and AMD don't have an AI-based FSR, then we'll develop our own.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's my sort of like guess as to what's happening. And that'd be interesting because
well, it makes sense because if they're developing their own, they can develop it for a specific set of hardware, they know the hardware that's going to be in the PS5 Pro.
Yes.
For example. So they can develop maybe it would be easier, I'm suspecting it is easier judging how far behind AMD is when compared to NVIDIA. If they develop their own version of upscaling and frame generation for the PS5 Pro, they could probably do that in a shorter amount of time because they're only dealing with a certain number of hardware pieces.
This is where it gets a little bit confusing because there's like confirmed specs for this PS5 Pro that says exactly what CPU it's using and kind of like this is the target for the GPU, but then there's reports saying that Sony hasn't finalized it. And then this report says that Sony is including its own AI hardware in there. And that's a bit that kind of confuses me because that sounds like complicated, right? Let's say you're using somebody else's GPU and CPU. Like, how do you just put your own AI chip in there for upscaling? Like, wouldn't you just integrate their AI hardware that already exists.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that's kind of
maybe
like what I assumed it was. Like, because I don't know, but like we'll see. But like we probably won't. Sony won't announce this until the 11th hour. Like, this is not something that you build hype for to cannibalize existing sales for PS5. They have lofty sales goals for PS5. They want to sell them continuously. So a PS5 Pro is something that you wouldn't announce until probably June and then launch it 3 or 4 months later. Because this is an enthusiast grade, high level product that's purely for people that want the very best of the best. So there's no point showing it now or teasing it now, because then there'll be a percentage of people that will just say, even like yourself, like you said last time, was like, I'm not going to buy a PS5 because I know there's a PS5 Pro around the corner.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And that's what you don't. That's what they don't want as well.
Fair enough. It's better to stay silent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it'll be interesting.
It is interesting. I can't believe that they're just like, all right, let's just put our own stuff in. That's just like, all right. Everyone's like, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I know. Like,
Sony's like, of course we could do that. We're like,
the problem
really?
is as well.
Wait,
like,
what?
You know, like, people would just report on it, or just like people that just gamers would just say, oh yeah. Like, I mean, it can't be that easy, right? You can't just put your AI chip in something and then all of a sudden you've got AI.
Yeah, it just works.
Yeah. Like, it's just like, you know, like DLSS was trained on like the most advanced supercomputers like 3 years ago, when these supercomputers only existed in like 2 or 3 places in the world, right?
Yeah.
That's why it was so good.
And like 4 blokes at Sony are just soldering their chip onto just like the circuit board, just anywhere. They're like, they're like, all right, chip it, go.
I know, it's like a mod. Like back in the day,
mod.
you used to be able to like hack your consoles by putting a chip on it. Like if you chipped your PlayStation, that means you could run games off CD.
Yes. Yes, I do remember that. Oh,
they're chipping their PlayStations.
PS5 Pros aren't even off. They're just... this is going to be interesting. Very good. I like that. Is that all you had on that one?
Yeah. Yep.
Is it time to talk about...
it's change gears.
Twitch's Uno Reverso.
Indeed.
Did you read this story at all? Did you hear about it?
What I understood was that like I saw like people posting about it on X, and then I saw your news article, and it's like, okay, so they're allowing what they call artistic nudity, which I assume is like whatever falls under that, like dancing, this, as long as it's not like, you know, full on pornography, then like, you know, they're trying to like,
they're trying to widen the boundaries of. So Twitch announced, I can't remember what day it was, and I didn't write it in my article, but all of this happened within the span of like a
this is like a funny
day,
thing,
a day and a half or something like that.
Then the next day.
Yeah. So Twitch announced that it was updating its policies on what content is allowed on its platform. Essentially, the update widened the possibility of content that is permitted on the platform. And what was a part of those changes was the changes to content relating to sexual themes. Yeah. And this is where it got a little dicey. So the new changes involve the acceptance of content that contains sexual themes, and if it's appropriately labeled. So Twitch introduced a new label. I think it was called sexual themes. So if you labeled your content under that, and it contained, video content that could be considered a sexualized theme. I don't know. This is where it gets very dicey because it's all subjective. Then it would pass. So you would be able to have that on the platform if it was correctly labeled. Now, more specifically, the new rules accept content containing quote unquote artistic depictions, meaning drawn, sculpted, or animated of quote fully exposed female presenting breasts and / or genitals and / or buttocks regardless of gender, end quote. So that's where everyone was like, whoa. Wait, you can...
That sounds like
you can just draw boobs and butts and put them on Twitch now. So this is where a lot of creators went like, oh, this is awesome. Now I can show my audience off all of this crazy stuff. The possibilities for content is now much wider. And then there was another group of people. I'm sure there is multiple different groups, but these two were the loudest for what I was seeing. The other were concerned about about the children that are watching creators like, I don't know, say like Kai Cenat, or like a large percentage of his audience might be like 14-year-old kids.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like all of these really popular streamers like Aiden Ross and all of these characters have children watching them. So
what was confusing to me was that like it says that content such as like twerking, grinding, and pole dancing is okay.
Yeah, that's mad.
It's like the line for making that sexualized is so.
It's very thin. It's very thin. Yeah, it's very so. Additionally, Twitch's new rules allow content that deliberately, so this is a quote, deliberately highlights breast, buttocks or pelvic region, as well as body writing. Moreover, the new rules pass content such as dances like twerking, grinding, and pole dancing, and don't require any label.
Mm-hmm. So that doesn't require any labels. Anybody can watch.
Yeah, anyone can watch because they're dancing.
Stream, or the pole dancing stream.
Yeah, twerking, grinding, and pole dancing. Completely.
Grinding, that sounds like
grinding.
Well, what does that mean? Like, I mean, that's obviously sexualized, right? My understanding of what grinding is wrong.
Yeah, it's either I don't know what grinding is, or it is sexual. Yeah. So if you're wondering about nudity, Twitch has made no changes to its policy regarding that topic. So like rules regarding nudity and games, sexual violence and or sex are still all banned. So as you can imagine,
so you can just have anime like hentai on there?
No, you can't. You can't. It's all banned. It's all banned. So anything that like any rules regarding nudity and games, sexual violence or sex wasn't changed. So all they did was widen, like they rolled back some of the I suppose sexual themed content while opening up a new label. So as you can imagine, that was extremely divisive. And then the next day, Twitch walks back artistic nudity. Later. Yeah, artistic nudity policy that allowed sexual content. So it just illustrates how
it's just
much of a toilet of a company Twitch is.
It's all just a minefield when they try to say you can do this, but you can't do this, but this is okay, but this is not okay.
It'll never work out.
Based on what?
Yeah, it'll never work out. So this is what they said. They wrote, I think the company CEO wrote an update. Just will get his name right here. Hold on, it's just loading the article for me. Dan Clancy. That's right. He recently took that position.
All right.
Pardon me. So this is what Twitch said. Upon reflection, we have decided that we went too far with this change. First line. Digital depictions of nudity present a unique challenge. Pardon me. Digital depictions of nudity present a unique challenge, can be used to create realistic images. Challenge AI can be used to create realistic images, and it can be hard to distinguish between digital art and photography. So effective today, we are rolling back the artistic nudity changes. Moving forward, depictions of real or fictional nudity won't be allowed on Twitch, regardless of the medium. This restriction does not apply to mature rated games. And there is a much, much more thorough statement that will be linked in the description below if you want to go read that. But it's just funny to see the company come out, try and allow for more content on the platform that is, a little bit edgy, because they're thinking, all right, well, what about if we put a label out there and then let the creators label it, maybe like an age gate or something. I don't know if they did the age gate thing, but I would consider doing that if they want to have pole dancing, twerking and grinding. Just put an age gate on the stream.
So twerking, grinding, and pole dancing that deliberately highlight breasts, buttocks, or pelvic region is no longer okay, but that was okay for 24
hours.
What?
Streamers got banned.
So basically, they said like, okay, obviously, stripper style dancing is okay, as long as you're not taking your clothes off.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's not okay.
So what happened with the
surely you know what that, like if you're saying that's okay, you know what that is, or what that means for the platform.
But the response from the community was so like, I don't know, it was like a cannon being fired back at Twitch that they changed the policy again, and then content creators that violated the change because they weren't aware that it had been essentially reverted got banned. So in the author note by Dan Clancy, this is what he says. First, we want to make it clear that some streamers, in response to this update, created content that was in violation of our new policy. We've worked quickly to remove that content and issue channel enforcements. And they're reinstating some content creators for violating the terms of service in between that like limbo period. So they're giving some creators their channels back while others aren't. So they made the changes. Creators were like, oh yeah, cool, new possible content. Then they make it, publish it on the platform, and then the platform has turned around, made the changes, reverted the changes, and then banned the creators. What are they doing? What is going on? Yeah.
I'm just having a looking into Twitch now, and
it's a mess.
Kind of looks like underwear streaming is still okay.
Oh yeah, it's all good. No, you can stream in your bathers in a bathtub. That's fine. That's all good. It's just hot outside, obviously. It's hot out. I need to be in a bathtub on stream. I'm all good. Just chill out, Kosta. It's fine. This isn't sexualized at all. It's only sexualized if you think it's sexualized. Yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. I don't know where to draw the guidelines. I don't have any of the answers for Twitch.
They don't either, based on what we're seeing.
It's almost like it's such an impossible task. I can't really think of a situation where everyone is going to be happy. Like you can have a little bit of sexualized content, but
not too much.
Not too much, but everyone is okay for that because everyone's line for what is sexualized content is different. Like there is no middle ground that we can just arrive on. I think this is something, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So there's a new thing on Twitch where it's topless streamers.
Topless?
Yeah, topless streamers.
Yeah, that's what I just saw on the Twitch thing. Just chatting page. It's like a few of those. Yeah, I saw that as
that's
well,
the
like
new
on
thing.
Social media.
That's the new thing. But they're wearing something under there. Like they're wearing a top under there, but the way that they've just set up their camera is so it alludes to, it being sexual. Like, is that allowed? Because you're clearly trying to
what I was about
get
to say
some
is that,
reaction.
Just because something is technically G-rated, does that make it appropriate? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it falls within a guideline, like it can still be sexualized.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like some of
but it's like a losing battle for Twitch as well, because when it comes to appealing to teenagers and young adults, that's always going to sell.
Oh yeah, sex is always going to sell for that.
So people will push whatever they can. So if Twitch said anything goes, it'll be.
Oh my god.
It'll just turn into within 24 hours.
You'll have ISIS executions on there. That's what will happen. It'll be terrible. If they said anything goes, it would be some of the most heinous shit. It'd be terrible.
It'll turn into like The Running Man.
Oh, 100%. It would be like, it would turn into like a 4chan page. It'll be just like, nice, nice post, and then just like horrific death. And then it would just be chaos. So they can't do that, but then because you obviously need to have advertisers on your platform somehow.
Yeah.
So I don't have the answers for them, but yeah, I think they're fighting the impossible fight.
The thing is, like, YouTube has artistic nudity they allow it. So they seem to be better at moderating this sort of stuff.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So like, you know, you can like, you know, there is like nudity on YouTube where, you know,
if
like
it's a tutorial.
Yeah, like a human form or something medical related, like, you know, there or artistic or technical nudity like that. That's allowed as long as, you know, they have clear rules for it, and it seems to be moderated okay. I'm not saying like YouTube is the greatest for like how it.
Well, it's doing better than Twitch.
How its algorithms works, but it's better. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough.
Right.
Okay, that's all about that. That's about all I had on that story. Do you want to move on to the foldable iPad?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
what I don't quite get is like, because the iPad, like if it's foldable, like what does that serve? Like the fact that it's foldable.
Well, it can bend now, Costa. That's very cool.
Yeah. Like,
no, I don't know. They'd have to put some Apple shine on it. Like, there's obviously got to have, right? Yeah, they've got to have some functionality to it. It can't just be.
Hey, it folds.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would say if I was selling you this. I'd be like, hey, what do you mean? Have you ever seen an iPad that could fold before?
Yeah, it'd have to be a reason. I mean, they'd have to have some sort of function because Apple wouldn't just launch a foldable iPad.
Yeah, well, they won't do that before they adopt OLEDs, and that is what we're here to talk about in this story. So,
yes,
reports indicate that 2024 Apple will begin its adoption of OLED technology with shift away from mini LED. And according to this report, and just for a disclaimer, the report cites two people familiar with Apple's plans in quotation mark. So let's categorize this one as rumors because, you know, it's not really legitimate. But regardless, it's fun to talk about, so we shall. In 2024, Apple is rumored to adopt OLED panels, and its first will be an iPad, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think the iPhone will come with the first.
To be the first like the first foldable device from Apple. You'd assume would be an iPhone,
and I think it's going to be iPhone, and like they're going to unveil like a suite or like the new family with the iPhone event. You know, that makes more sense to me. Anyway, it would be an iPad, and it will come a few generation after. This is the foldable device, sorry. The foldable iPad will come a few generations after iPads are integrated with OLED panels. It would only happen after 2 OLED variants from Apple. So I'm guessing 2 years. So the first integration of OLED into an iPad, and then this Gen 2, and then Gen 3 possible foldable iPad. Okay, now the report doesn't just reveal purported plans for a new iPad, but also mentions Apple is scheduled to mass produce a MacBook with an OLED panel in the second half of 2025.
That would be cool.
That would be sick.
I'm just like, why it's taking them so long to go OLED? Like,
it takes them so long to do anything. They don't move unless it is established that people like the technology. They do not do anything new unless it is established that it is popular and it is not going to, you know, stuff up there.
To do that, I mean, when they had old Steve Z Jobsy.
Oh yeah.
New things.
They've done a 180 since that bloke left the helm. He was pushing innovation crazy, like
the iPod,
ridiculous.
No, you listen to music. I mean, it was a pretty cool device.
1,000 songs in your pocket. 1,000 songs in your pocket.
1,000. Right there in your pocket.
Right there in your pocket. It's an epic movie. Michael Fassbender did the best Steve Jobs, in my opinion. Yeah, it's such a good film. It's one of my written by Aaron Sorkin as well. Just chef's
great
kiss.
Film. Like Social Network as well, like that, and Social Network. Like
again, Sorkin.
Marathon. Yeah,
again, Sorkin wrote that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Anyway, we're getting off track. Yeah, Apple doesn't do that anymore. They don't do the Steve Jobs. I don't know, let's just shoot for the stars. They kind of are with the Vision Pro, but again, that was established technology. Like how old is it?
I think more like Apple's MO now is basically just to be obviously a prestige brand or like, that, but like to have foolproof like UI design and functionality of everything that's out there, but then just present it in a way that's in an ecosystem that's just super intuitive.
Yeah, I can't. Oh man, that is actually hits the nail on the head. Perhaps was I talking about that last episode?
I think you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was something that I wrote in one of my articles. I did a big explanation for about how Apple kind of navigates itself in the industry, keeping its like $1 trillion valuation or whatever by not pushing the envelope of any industry at all. It's like how does it do it? It's worth $1 trillion. It's not leading in any physical market. It's probably leading on functionality of its device. Like I believe the iPhone is the best phone at being a phone, if you know what I mean by that.
I would agree. Yeah, definitely.
It just does everything that a phone does perfectly. Like there's everything that you would need it to do. I mean, it doesn't fold. It doesn't like have a crazy 25 times camera or stuff like that. But it's all extra,
I just don't want Apple software installed on my PC. I've got enough stuff installed, so that's why I got Android and why I've got a Windows laptop. It's like,
fair enough.
Sure, a MacBook would be nice. Especially because, like, I do like music stuff and like all those sort of like designer apps and like music
GarageBand and stuff like that, man. Yeah,
Ableton Live, all those they're more stable on Apple.
Yeah, it was all that's probably something that they do really well is
stability and
just the software side of things. It all works seamlessly within the ecosystem. But again, that's not a physical market. They're not like leading on displays. I mean, they're up there now with their CPUs. That's for sure. That's again, that's for specific tasks like within Final Cut they're
using the most cutting edge nodes, but the technology is still not like as good as the best Intel, AMD or NVIDIA hardware. Like off-the-shelf hardware for like doing those sort of things, like the M3 chips or whatever, great for XX and X, but like a high-end Intel rig with NVIDIA graphics will demolish that for like Adobe performance and like video editing and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, 100%. But yet they're still one of the goats. And that I find that interesting. The fact that a company can do that, because I'm such a performance junkie. Yeah, I like the best no matter what it is. I just want more frames, more like whatever, better screens, all of that. But Apple doesn't necessarily care about that. They adopt when it's 100% guaranteed that that is an established piece of tech that people will like. And then they take that and then they just put their own shine on it. So as for the iPads and the foldable devices, I don't necessarily think this is the right timeline. 2025, this report says, according to these two people familiar with so-and-so. Foldable devices, I can honestly see a foldable iPad before I can see a foldable iPhone. So, but like, maybe.
Let's look back a bit. I did a quick search, and so like, even on Tweaktown, we've had, when Samsung was first, right? They did the Galaxy Fold or whatever it was ages ago.
Yeah.
I mean, how many years ago, right?
I had one.
Yeah, at that time, rumors that Apple's going to release a foldable iPhone in 2022, 2023, 2024. No chance. And like, just based on that, like, I guarantee there's like a prototype foldable iPhone, multiple versions of it out there.
Yeah, there would be, but I think that there's a key problem to a foldable device that I believe is a deal breaker for Apple. It is the limitation on the amount of folds that you have. If you can get over that hurdle, if that tech can be developed where there's an infinite amount of folds and the screen, there is no degradation. Right? Yeah, well, even millions or whatever. But I think Apple would love to be able to say that, you never have to worry about it breaking or something like that. Yeah. That's a part of it. I feel like that's very... if Apple came out and said there's 100, say 1 million folds on this phone, I don't think that aligns with their brand at all.
Do you think it's as impressive now? Like back, let's say 5-6 years ago at CES or and you know, somebody showed you a foldable laptop or a foldable phone, you'd be like, with a full screen, you'd be like,
yeah,
wow,
it's cool.
But we like these laptops, foldable ones, have like, you know, Lenovo make a bunch of them, and they have been making a bunch for like years. I saw one like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, wow. But like, would you be excited for a foldable device now, like in 2024? Like what's the benefit of it being foldable?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't.
Like
I got rid of my foldable phone.
Maybe because then the phone becomes a tablet, so then it's bigger screen. Like, is that?
But I found that I didn't even like that. I bought that with that. That was the exact intention that I bought it with. Is that I'll use this as a tablet, and then I just wanted it to be a phone. Like, where it wasn't big enough for me to be able to multitask on it. And also, my interaction on my phone is limited by my thumbs. Yeah. So I can't do even Control-C, Control-V, or like, you know, close tabs or anything like that. I can't use hotkeys. I can't do anything like that unless I go through an extensive learning curve. So that was big enough reason for me to abandon and then just get a phone that is good at being a phone. So I suppose that is to your point. Why would you want a foldable iPad? I'm not sure.
There has to be a reason.
I'm not sure. And I believe Apple, if I was to estimate,
because a tablet screen's big enough.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people use the iPads for Photoshop and stuff like that. Like,
what's it gonna do? Like imagine, this might be cool, right? Like, you got this iPad, but then it can fold like 17 times or something, and then it becomes like this huge OLED TV.
That would be insane. Or it folds down into like a little cube.
Yeah.
And then you can go like that, and then it just.
Like, I mean, it just slaps onto the wall.
That's what I would like an iPhone. It would be cool if there was another one that was half as thick as my iPhone 15 Pro Max that came down on here, and then somehow, like, because you got the action button on the side now, I could press it and then it would just like slide up and give me more screen. That would be sick. But the engineering for that was just ridiculous.
About this for technology, right? You got your phone and it's instead of foldable, like, this is brand new tech. If you saw this, I think I would be blown away. It's like stretchable. So you just stretch it and then it becomes like an iPad. And then you just shrink it and then it becomes like a phone. Imagine that.
That would be crazy. It's like a scroll. It's like a scroll. Yeah.
just goes
like an old Skyrim scroll.
Like, you know, without seamless, right? It has to be seamless.
Oh, OLED.
Can't be like, you know, where you see the folds and the creases and the mechanisms, but, you know, obviously impossible, but maybe not. If Steve Jobs, we'd probably have it.
Possibly. Anyway, so I don't think Apple is going to be releasing a foldable iPad. Perhaps I'm wrong. Maybe they have overcome the screen degradation problem, like through the continuous bending. I would be really shocked if they came out and announced a foldable iPad before a foldable iPhone. But I mean, I just can't see them doing it if there is a limited amount of screen folds. I really don't. I don't see that being an Apple on brand kind of thing. Like, that really doesn't track well with me.
If there is a foldable Apple thing, but like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's going to be as exciting. Because I think like the iPhones and stuff like, I mean, unless it's like there is like, it's kind of like you know, like tablets or like the foldable ones, that tablet and laptop, the 2-in-1. It's like, you've got your tablet, but then you just clip on, or it folds into like a laptop, and it's a tablet or it's a laptop, and it's like, like if you're like if that's what, like if you're working and then you're traveling a lot, and then it's like, I can have a tablet and a laptop in one, but it's a very specific use case, right? It's not like this. It's not a game changer for everyone, and I think the foldable thing is not like an everyone thing. Like a smartphone is like an everyone device, right? Everybody wants one. Everyone will make good use out of one. But like a foldable one, like it seems niche to me.
It is
just like 2-in-1 tablet laptops are kind of niche.
Yeah,
like they can be cool, but like it's not mainstream. It's not 10,000 or 1,000 songs in your pocket.
It's not 1,000 songs in your pocket. That was very well rounded. That's about all I had on that story. Did you want to head on to NVIDIA?
Yeah, so this is kind of a fun one because we got $1 trillion company and one multiple $billion company just having a little back and forth with their super expensive AI GPU accelerating hardware. So as we know, like at CES, what's the Computex? We were there in Taiwan. We got to visit NVIDIA's office and we saw the Hopper. We saw the H100 and the Grace Hopper GPUs. We got close to them and we got to touch it and look at it.
I smelled it.
They had it on display. It was very cool, right? Because we're like, okay, it's not every day you get to see like $30,000 or whatever it is. AI.
Oh, it smelled like powerful AI.
Hardware, right? Yeah.
It smelled like Arnie. God.
So that Hopper and H1 is considered to be, the gold standard for AI, whatever, machine learning, whatever you're doing, inferencing, or whatever they're doing on these supercomputers that cost so much money, and they've got multiple versions of these in the server, whatever. This is outside of the realm of everyday consumer tech. So AMD launched their AI flagship AI accelerator, a GPU. It's called the M1300X. The AMD Instinct MI300X, because of course it's going to be called something. Throw a slap on an X on there. Built on it's a chiplet design, 5 nanometer, 6 nanometer process. 150 plus billion transistors, etc., etc. Insane hardware. It's got the size of like a full desktop PC. But it's got HBM3 memory, which is like super fast, 5.3 terabytes per second bandwidth, right? A modern graphics card like the 4090 has like 30 gigabytes of bandwidth, and that's like that's super fast. Whereas it's like 5.3 terabytes. So it's their flagship AI hardware, and it's their CDNA 3 architecture. They just launched it a couple of weeks ago. 304 compute units, a 7900 XTX, their flagship desktop model, has, I think, 80. So this has 304. One GPU, and multiple versions of these can be stacked in a server, and you got eight. They showed pictures of 8 of them together working on generative AI. So like this, just to give you an idea of like what it takes to run OpenAI and all these supercomputers and AI, generative AI servers. It's just insane amounts of hardware, right? And this is why NVIDIA is $1 trillion company. So this is AMD saying, hey, we've got our version of it. Well, not our version of what they've been making AI hardware as well. So like, this is our flagship, super expensive as well. So like, it's not like we could afford anything close to this. But when they announced it, they showed some slides and they showed like performance of the MI300X beating NVIDIA's H100, the Hopper GPU, in a number of tests. And so it's like, okay, so this is the new AI leader, right? And so this is like a year after NVIDIA announced is the Hopper or whatever. So NVIDIA will have their next gen version out next year, etc. There's going to be like a back and forth. Like the AI war is well and truly on it. It makes sense because this is where companies are spending billions and billions of dollars, right? But anyway, so what happened was, and this is like reporting on this stuff is confusing because I don't understand how they benchmark AI, generative AI performance and stuff like that. It's just confusing. But anyway.
That was my question. It was in the tests where AMD beat NVIDIA, are these specific benchmarks? Is this like an Apple thing?
Yes. So it's using Llama 2 70B.
Isn't that Facebook?
Server inference. So I don't know what that is.
I'm pretty sure Llama is Facebook's. Llama's...
Yes.
It is?
Yeah, it's one of the most common AI things. So it's like with input tokens and output tokens. And anyway, that's how you measure it. And how you measure it based on like how long it takes the AI GPU or the AI server to to run the query. So it's all like, AI is all like query based and like, like it processes that in like a second or whatever the case is, or 2 seconds. But anyway, so AMD had this picture saying that it's 1.2x faster than the H100 in inference performance for a single GPU using Llama 2. And so then NVIDIA released about a week or so later a article on their blog that basically said achieving, this is the title of it as well. So it's kind of funny like how cold they were. This is why I kind of reported it, because it made me laugh, because their article is called Achieving Top Inference Performance with the NVIDIA H100 Tensor Core GPU and NVIDIA Tensor RT LLM.
That's really funny.
So it's like, it's not even like, there's nothing in that headline that says AMD is wrong. It basically says, hey, this is how you get the best performance with our GPU. And the reason why they titled it that, and this is like Jedi level trolling, is because AMD, when they showed their benchmarks, they didn't have the latest massive update that NVIDIA did for all GPUs, including the GeForce RTX ones for AI. It's the Tensor RT LLM, large language model optimizations. And that boosted performance dramatically. So basically, NVIDIA says, well, if you're running our Thingo and you're using the correct, or what's their wording? It's actually quite funny. Let me have a look at blah, blah, blah. What they say? It's just the way they worded it. If benchmarked properly. So like the results shared did not use optimized software. So like they mentioned AMD, but halfway through they say at a recent launch event, AMD talked about inference performance of the H100 GPU compared to its M1300X chip.
That's so funny.
The results shared did not use optimized software, and the H100, if benchmarked properly, is 2 times faster. And by benchmarked properly, I put in the article that just means using the latest optimizations. And then, and their data shows that, yes, it's faster. But then they included a test that AMD didn't use, which is like how most servers measure performance. And because AMD didn't include the data for their own chip in there, NVIDIA didn't go to the lengths of benchmarking AMD's chip. So then they only include their data. So that's why you got all these super high green bars next to batch 1 in their picture, is because they're saying like, hey, using a more real world accurate benchmark, you can see that we're way faster. Like even though, but if there was like a red there, it actually would be a little bit closer. You know what I mean? Like it makes it look like the red is still, tiny.
That's hilarious.
So this is like, there's no way I review GPUs, right? But there's no way I could benchmark these things to see who's right or wrong. You know what I mean? Like there's just no way that anybody else is going to be able to do this. Like who's going to be buying like super expensive hardware from both of these companies just to be able to compare them? But even then, like when there's shortages and waiting lists. But anyway.
That is hilarious. That is like a bit of a back and forth.
Yeah. So then I posted that, and then actually a day later, AMD emailed me, and they said, "Hey, we're putting together a new blog post in response to that." And then they sent the link, and they had they had engineers or whatever like available to chat if I wanted to, but I'm like, no, it's fine, because like I'm just trying to decipher this, and it takes me like I'm not an expert in like how they I wouldn't be able to ask the right questions, but their blog made sense. So then AMD posted a new blog and they said, hey, guess what, we've now redone the tests using the optimized Tensor RT LLM, but also we've made our own optimizations since we posted our initial benchmarks. So now we're even faster again. So this is why that's why I want to talk about it, because it's just like back and forth. But then they threw some shade as well, saying that NVIDIA kind of like cherry picked floating, like a type of floating point that only NVIDIA hardware can do, whereas you can't actually test one of their tests using their hardware or something like that. So if we're comparing that to that, even if you're comparing that to that, it's their lead isn't that big.
Oh, for God's sake.
It's tiny, but we're still 30% faster. But then anyway, it's just, I don't think this is the last we're going to hear about it. I'm sure NVIDIA is going to have a follow-up.
Oh my God. Okay, this is great. They're like, no. These are the real stats. We're faster. And then they're like, no. You did your benchmarks wrong. These, we're quicker. We're quicker.
Yeah, we've optimized as well. Guess what? Our new driver means that we're now 30% faster.
This won't end. This will just keep happening.
It's going to keep going.
This is a paradox.
This is a big fight. And then I think Anthony posted today, I haven't read it, but Intel have got an AI GPU, and they're saying that now that's the fastest or something. But this is where the money is for these companies selling to servers and big companies like OpenAI and Microsoft and Google and Apple and stuff like that. So this is big money.
You should reach out to AMD and NVIDIA and be like, look, I'll settle the debate for you.
Just send me a couple of servers.
Yeah. Yeah, and what do you want me to come over and see if we can figure out how to set them up?
Yeah. And how we're going to
we'll do it on the podcast.
We could probably lease them out.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, we can make a hell of a lot of money. But that is
So anyway, that's crazy. That saga. Stay tuned.
Saga. Yeah.
So currently AMD is ahead. So AMD said they were ahead, then NVIDIA said you're wrong, we're ahead. And then it was looks like NVIDIA's ahead. And then now AMD is saying no, we've made further optimizations and now we're ahead. So that's kind of where we are.
All right. Should we move on to the next gen Xbox?
Yeah, this one is interesting. Posted by Derek just today or yesterday, I think. Or over the weekend. Yep.
It's doing well on traffic.
Yeah, and this one is interesting because this is not a Pro console or a Xbox Series XX or a refresh, a mid-generation update to the Series X. This is next-gen Xbox from Microsoft. This is their next console. And rumors are saying that it could arrive in 2026, which is still a few years away. But that would mean that their console cycle would be shorter than the previous one. It would come down to 6 years, which is kind of like what it used to be back in the day ages ago. But with the PS4 and the Xbox One, that generation was so long. It was 8 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So people are pointing towards the 2028 was kind of the date listed in when they had those Microsoft court case hearings. You remember there was a whole thing about Microsoft buying acquisition being this.
That was so funny as well, that all of their stuff got leaked and they're like, no, why did you do this, FTC? And then the FTC is like, you did this.
Yeah, that was it.
It was you did this. We didn't do this.
So the educated guess is that the PlayStation 6, which is already in development, and the next gen Xbox, they're already in development, right? Because they're still years away, but they have to be in development. So, but they're on track for 2028. That's the educated guess. And because of the pandemic and shortages, when these consoles launched in 2020, it felt to many people, even myself, that the console generation, the PS5, the Xbox Series X generation, the GeForce RTX 30 series and Radeon, the ray tracing era for PC gaming, didn't really kick off for about a year because of, on the PC side, you had the mining boom and then shortages, as well as the pandemic stuff. And then it was impossible to get a PlayStation. It was impossible to get a Series X for months. Yeah. For a year. So it felt like that there was just this slow start. So that the console generation to many feels like it's only just starting to kick in. So the talk of a next gen now feels premature. But to me, it sounds like Microsoft is kind of not throwing in the towel, but accepting that they've lost this generation by a huge margin. They're like being outsold 2-1.
Oh yeah,
2.5
for
to 1
sure,
3-1 for PS5 versus Xbox Series X, and that they're going to take a 360 approach. So the original Xbox, the very first Xbox console launched in 2001, I think, or around about there, or 2002, can't remember. But anyway, it was basically a PC.
It was off-the-shelf components, yeah.
Yeah. It had Halo, it had a few great games.
DirectX is Xbox.
Yeah, but it was only like a 4 or 5 year console. So it was cut short because Microsoft were just getting into the game, and they were obviously just building building an audience. And so then they came out of the gate with the 360 6 to 8 months before the PS2 or 3 or PS3. I think it was. Yeah, it was 360 versus PS3. They were hit the market first by a considerable amount. So to me, it sounds like they're following the similar approach. So they're so far behind on the Series X and Series S that they will kickstart the next gen earlier and potentially make it cloud-based or AI-based or whatever they're going to do to make it fancier, as well as have more powerful hardware.
Yeah.
But then do it in 2026.
I think they're in a much better position as well, because now that they have Blizzard, they're in a much better position to be able to pull this kind of move. I'm not sure if they're going to go down an exclusive route and what titles, but coming out with a fresh new Xbox when you've now got, you've got a much more bulkier Game Pass. You've got you've got all of these things lined up. I feel like they have their ducks in a row almost. And by 2026, we're looking at fresh new titles from all of those developers, essentially.
Dude, exactly. So my explanation was more like glass half empty. It's okay, we're behind, so let's push out a new console. But then what you're saying is exactly right. You're saying that, let's push out the new, and this makes sense. Push out the new console. We've got Activision. We've got all these studios.
Yeah.
All these games coming over the next couple of years.
Let them cook.
By 2026, we're going to have X and X, and Game Pass is going to be at this sort of level. And we've got all these studios and all these games lined up, and let's accelerate our next gen console plan. Let's almost relaunch Xbox.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Wow. No, I fully get it, and I think you hit the nail on the head. They've definitely lost this gen, but I think both companies kind of lost this generation. These consoles were so hyped for so long, and then COVID came around and just threw a wet paper towel over, a wet blanket over the entire thing. And then you couldn't get one, or at least we couldn't get one. And now we're, 3 years. How long? When did they come out again?
It was 2020, yeah.
Yeah, 3 years.
We're 3 years. But it doesn't feel like, that's why I said it doesn't feel like it, right? It feels like it's only kind of PlayStation is just finding its footing, and Xbox especially, because they didn't really have any games for ages, and now this year they've had they launched Starfield, so it feels okay, if they've got this sort of brand identity this year as they've got Activision now, they've got Bethesda releasing games, and they've shown that they over the next few years they've got a whole bunch of their studios releasing stuff like Hellblade next year. It feels like they're just kicking off as well. But yeah, I think 2026 would be an acceleration for sure. But there is a precedent for it, console generations being 6 years, even though with COVID, like you said, kind of threw a hole, made it not as exciting as it could have been, especially with the impact on game development as well.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Everyone shut down.
It's not just that. It's not just that the consoles were hard to get. It was that development on games just got delayed by months and years.
And they tried to go in studio, to do development from home, and then it's just some studios it didn't work, others it did work, and then we got some releases were shoddy, the others were they worked. It was all over the place. That was across every industry, and I think obviously Sony has beat Xbox and Microsoft this gen, but I think leading up, I remember what it was like leading up to the launch of the PS5. I was and the new Xbox, I was so excited for 4K 60 capable consoles and the leap to SSDs. Like that
the SSD leap
is something that I've been waiting for so long.
I think the move to fast storage on PS5 especially, but also Xbox, is probably the best thing about this generation.
Oh,
like,
it is.
You know, like those old man, it's impossible to load a game on an Xbox One or PS4 now.
Oh, and
like,
it's so loud.
But you know what I mean? Like just how slow it is.
Yeah,
loading screens for like 2 minutes. You're like, geez.
Yeah, it's
like
awful.
Now it's like seconds, and you're just like, it's so good.
Yeah, SSDs are where it's at, and I think like that hype train and them. I remember them releasing like. They did the whole showcase for like how the SSD works and like the engineering behind it. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be incredible. Then bam, COVID hits and no one really cared about the consoles because, you know, people were dying.
Yeah.
And the world
gaming sales boomed though. That's the thing. People wanted these consoles
true.
And people wanted these GPUs.
Yeah, but then the manufacturing lines got choked up. They couldn't get products in. Delays. And now we're 3 years down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I knew people that were, when the PS5 came out, right? So there was a couple of places that were posting like stock levels in Australia. So let's say like a Big W or a JB Hi-Fi. These are like stores in Australia that they had PlayStations. And like, you know, they had, let's say 100.
Yeah.
But they were sold out in seconds. There were people watching these things. Like I had like a good friend who was trying to get a PlayStation, and he was like following these accounts for like months until he just gave up. Because every time it's like within a minute or two of just like clicking on the link.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. Yeah. Some of my mates snagged some that way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was you had to be really quick. We are running out of time, so we might do some honorable mentions here. I'll just breeze through these. So, I just wanted to first highlight a new product that Elgato has released. You've probably heard me talk about it on the podcast if you've been following along every week. It is the Elgato Prompter, and it is a new take on quite an old piece of technology. The teleprompter has been around for... I don't know when the first one was made.
Yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
That's what they use at like award shows, and you know when the host like the text is coming up and like news anchors and stuff like that. That's what they read from. Yeah.
So Elgato sent me out one. I reviewed it, and it has become my favorite product from Elgato. And I own a lot of Elgato products. I own the Wave microphones. I've reviewed both of them. I've got Elgato capture cards. Reviewed them. These arms that you see here are the low profile arms. They're all from Elgato. My lights are Elgato. Yep. This is easily number one, my favorite product that they have ever released. For those that don't have the visual side and just on the audio, imagine an enclosure sitting around your camera. There is a double-sided mirror. Elgato, instead of traditionally you would put another device or something like that plays the text backwards, right under where the double-sided mirror is. So because it's playing backwards, it will reflect the text in the correct way when you're looking directly at the camera. So instead, Elgato has put an entire display at the bottom that is flipped. So when I look into the camera as I'm doing right now, Kosta is sitting right on top of my camera lens, and when I'm looking at him, I'm looking directly down the barrel of the camera. It's designed exactly for content creators and streaming. I think streamers they should adopt this, because when they're talking to chat in quotation marks, they can now put chat is on top of their camera. So it looks like they're looking directly at the person that is chatting within their chat. Incredible device. It's perfectly seamlessly integrated into my workflow for this show and other podcasts that I do. Is perfect for people that do video chatting, as me and Kosta do. So if you do like online, language courses, you're learning Japanese or, whatever. And if you do, or Zoom meetings, for example, You simply plug this in. It acts as a second display. You just drag whatever Zoom or Discord or whatever over onto that display, throw the other person's camera on top of your camera, and now you've got a beautiful camera shot. It is,
even if you like work from home and you're doing like a presentation, or you're running a meeting and maintaining that eye contact or presenting, like it just adds so much more.
Yeah, it adds
I noticed it straight away as soon as you started using it. I'm like, well, you're just looking straight at me now.
Yeah, it adds a level of intimacy, I think, to it, and I think we'll get Elgato to get you one as well, because you are using the Facecam Pro, and there is...
Yes, my review of the Facecam Pro is going up. Will be up by this time the episode's live, and just put it this way, it's the best webcam. Like the way I put in my review is kind of funny. Like I said, I go, it's a little bit insulting calling this a webcam. Because if you go to buy a webcam, it's like, off the shelf, just plug straight in, and it's just, it has to be good enough just for like internet, like, or what the internet was.
I just have the Facecam. I need the Facecam Pro, but Elgato.
Yeah, but it is like it's called a webcam because it is that. It's plug and play.
Yeah, it is. And same with the teleprompter.
You got autofocus lens and et cetera, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, your video quality is great. And again, Elgato is I mean, don't get me wrong, their stuff is expensive, but you get what you pay for. That's just a honorable mention.
That's the thing. Like the only negative in a lot of things is like, it comes down to price, and you can justify it. That's the thing. You can. Like if you will make use of it, if you use a camera a lot, then like you don't have to be a streamer. Like if you're on camera a lot, then the Facecam Pro is highly, highly recommended.
Yeah. The full review for the prompter is down below in the description if you want to go check out my full thoughts on that, the positives, negatives, best use cases, etc., etc. Also, before we move on, any camera can attach to this thing. It has universal attachments. It arrives with a bunch of rings. So if you got a DLSS, I mean, if you get to the end of the podcast, you'll see why that is funny. If you got a DLSR camera, or just a smaller handheld camera, or even your phone, it'll all connect to the prompter. So just an honorable mention there. Next on the honorable mentions, NASA scientists have left scratching their heads after analyzing asteroid samples. So funnily enough, they haven't really opened the canister that's full of asteroid samples, because there is so much debris around it. And it's all being operated inside like this vacuum sealed container thing with like everyone's got their arms in there. And I mean, come on. It is crazy, but you got to take precautions.
Exactly.
They have to make new tools to open the thing that they built. Like, what are you talking about? It doesn't make sense. It's not opening. There's heaps of samples in there. This is not a problem that they expected to have. They collected almost too much samples. Like there's debris all around the top of the
I remember you saying it last time. The latest update was that we got so many like there's more samples than they could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, no, they can't get it open.
Like, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. The Space Agency is currently making a new screwdriver that will be used to remove the remaining screws and enable full access to the samples.
What does that even mean?
They built the container. How did they screw the screws in?
I didn't know it was possible that there is like how many screwdrivers there are?
This is
already,
like Steve Jobs.
How many different types? Like, do you think there's like another one that's possible that people could invent? Like, it doesn't. I didn't think there was room for another screwdriver.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Another honorable mention: NASA's iconic spacecraft that was launched in 1977 can't phone home anymore, which is kind of sad. I'm yet to look up an update on this, so hopefully by the time you're hearing this, I don't have to issue a correction. But Voyager 1 has stopped communicating.
Oh, dude, Voyager 1 is probably my favorite, I think. Is that the one with all the images came from? Was it Voyager 2?
I think Voyager 1 contains like that. I think it's Leonardo da Vinci's like the Golden Man, like the, you know what I'm talking about, that art piece of the human, and it's got like it shows like that we can move stuff like that.
We can do star jumps.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. So what has happened here? What has happened here?
Da Vinci.
Yeah. So what has happened here is Voyager 1 is able to receive instructions and data from NASA, but it is not able to send it back. Oh, I just want to make sure that is correct, because there it's transmitting. Yes, that's right. So it's transmitting repeated ones and zeros back to NASA, which is indicating that it's not being able to receive the data from NASA and like make the necessary changes. It's just essentially NASA right stuck doing what it's doing. This overall problem is responsible. Okay, here. Yeah, sorry. Firstly, NASA states that Voyager 1's flight data system, which is responsible for collecting onboard engineering information about the spacecraft's scientific instruments, has experienced a glitch that has severed communications with Voyager 1's telecommunications unit. So must be a problem between the device that receives the data and then tells it to go to and another device that makes the changes. It's that's sad. It was...
Dude, like, they're trying to restart it, right? Like, which is like, hey, reboot your computer. Like, when something's wrong, that's always the common solution. But this thing is...
15 billion miles away from Earth.
Miles from Earth.
Yeah.
The fact that they're even communicating is quite impressive.
Well, the transmission one way takes 22.5 hours to reach the spacecraft. So one back and forth communication with Voyager 1 is typically 45 hours.
Insane.
15 billion miles from Earth. We'll keep you updated on that, because Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are the only two spacecraft humans have ever produced that is in interstellar space, which is outside of the orbit and I'm pretty sure it is the orbit of the sun. So that is the interstellar, meaning the space between stars. Yeah, sad times for the iconic spacecraft. Hopefully NASA... This isn't the first time that Voyager 1 has... Like, they lost communications with it and they re-picked it up. So, let's be hopeful. Yeah. So, world's first supercomputer designed to simulate a human brain to be turned on. Now, this is in our neck of the woods. Western Sydney University, Australia has announced via press release a supercomputer called Deep South is capable of emulating a network spiking neurons at 228 trillion synaptic operations per second, which puts its performance near to that of the operational power of a human brain. That is a lot of operations per second.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I don't know if my brain's doing that.
Oh, mine is not. There's no way. I can't even say DLSS. Yeah, that's just another honorable mention. I thought that was pretty cool because it's happening, in Sydney. That's like an hour away from you.
Yeah. That's cool.
The idea behind it is to understand more of the operational capacity of the human brain, and the approach that these researchers are taking are, instead of trying to generate the raw power and like the raw performance of the human brain, they're instead making architectural design changes that I suppose simulate the way that our brains work. So they're trying to recreate neuron pathways in the form of a computer. So this is something that one of them said: progress in our understanding of how brains compute using neurons is hampered by our inability to simulate brain-like networks at scale. Simulating spiking neural networks on standard computers using graphics processing units, GPUs, and multi-core central processing units, CPUs, is just too slow and power intensive. Our system will change that. At the end of the day, there's two types of researchers who will be interested in this, either those studying neuroscience or those who want to prototype new engineering solutions in the AI space. If you're trying to understand the brain, this will be the hardware to do it on. So this is specifically designed hardware.
Efficient.
That is meant to be extremely efficient because it's architecturally designed in this specific way, less power hungry and likely cheaper, which is, I think it's pretty cool. We're doing this down under. We're building a big brain, Kosta.
And this could be it. This could be Skynet. Yeah,
we just need ChatGPT to go into it and then or Grok, and then we'll put it on fun mode. That is about it.
This is a nice holiday cheer story.
Go ahead.
So Valve's Dota 2 is having its Christmas themed event.
Yep.
Called Frostivus 2023.
Frostivus.
And they posted an update that said that this year is going to be a bloodbath in terms of them banning people on the naughty list.
Oh.
So as you know, Dota is an online game. It's, the Dota International has prize pools of millions, pro players, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So basically what happened is that people, as part of Frostivus 23, got their cosmetic gift packs, right? And thousands of players are opening their gifts packs and finding inside, and, it's fully animated and you see it on the screen, a highly toxic lump of coal. And that's what the gift contains. And then seconds later, their account is banned.
What?
From playing the game. So they're handing out lumps of coal to people on the naughty list for Christmas.
That is
getting banned. And so there's a video of it, like in my news article, you'll see it. Somebody reposted on Twitter. It says, this must be the funniest thing I've ever seen relating to Dota. Well played, Valve. So basically on the stream, on this video, you see a Dota 2 pro player called Mason Venn. And he, on stream, on Twitch, he gets the highly toxic lump of coal and then gets banned on stream. And then he's perplexed. And the reason why he got banned is that he was running a Smurf account. Now, or an account to boost his behavior score. So, as you know, online games, Dota's got toxic players.
Yeah.
So what people do is they get other people to play well, and then boost their behavior, so they're not toxic players. So then when they play, they can actually just quit games before they're over, or just bad behavior, or just be toxic in general.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So he was getting people to boost his behavior score, and that's why he got banned.
And that's against TOS, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's against the terms, and there's which is they run, or there's smurfing accounts as well, where pro players have a secondary account so they can play low level players.
Yeah, and they can just wreck.
Exactly.
Yeah, I used to do
those
that.
accounts are getting banned as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is funny. So if you fire up Dota and you're I got a gift, and you open it up and it's a lump of coal.
That is hilarious.
Gets banned.
That is hilarious.
It's funny.
Well done. I'm going to clap Valve for that. That is a great bit. Well done, Valve.
Banning toxic behavior and cheaters and things like that, that's up there.
That's perfect. That is a chef's kiss. Well done, Valve.
It's oh yeah, open your cosmetic holiday themed gift.
Maybe we'll do a. I've got nothing left for this show besides the Tesla bot. That's about it, and we're running out of time anyway. So maybe we'll just honorable mention this, and then we can play the Tesla bot video at the end, which will be followed by our funny bit that I hope you've waited around for. So Tesla has officially unveiled the robot. It is calling Optimus Gen 2, and it does look like a human much more than Gen 1. Gen 1, little disappointing. I mean, it is a robot that is a humanoid robot, but it couldn't do much. It just kind of stood there at the show. It wasn't really that impressive. This, on the other hand, is very impressive. The dexterity it has in its fingers is, I think, that by itself is a feat of engineering that is impressive. The
walking is still stilted.
Yeah, the walking is going to be a big engineering problem. Musk said that I think Gen 2 should be able to thread a needle. That's how much dexterity it's aiming for, which would be very impressive. That's very cool. For those that don't know, Optimus is designed to carry out monotonous manual labor tasks. And, I mean, humanoid robots have been an engineering problem that engineers have been attempting to overcome for, I don't know, since the idea has been conceived of a robot. And now we're getting quite close to it. Before it's integrated fully into society, I don't know, I'd project it at like 10 years. Maybe.
Yeah, like you've got that Boston Dynamics robot, the one that can, like a cargo one where you can like pick up boxes and like jump up and down and like move stuff around. There was that one from a while ago.
Is it Spot?
Actually, I think it was like earlier this year.
Is it the dog?
No. It's not the dog. It's like
it's a humanoid.
It's like a kind of like a humanoid. Yeah.
For Optimus 2, we've got
but basically the same thing, like menial tasks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's the idea is to like free up monotonous jobs. Those people can go do something that is, you know, possibly more enjoyable. The new generation is able to walk 30% faster than the previous, as a weight reduction of 10 kilos, improvements in balance, body control, delicate object manipulation, tactile sensing on fingertips, and much more. The new Tesla bot appears much more human overall, and its movements are beginning to replicate that of a human. Obviously, it's still bad compared to a human, but this is something. Check it out. That's all we've got for this show, I think, unless you wanted
this show for 2023. That's pretty much it.
Well, that is the last Tweet Town show of 2023. I'm very excited to see what 2024 has in store for us. I think this show is only going to get better, and if you've been following along this entire journey throughout 2023, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching and listening, and 2024 is going to be a big one. Yeah,
it will be. Well, this show will evolve into something much more different than what it is now. Let's just say that. A lot more changes are on the way. All right, thank you very much for listening, guys. This has been Jak and Kosta signing off 2023 for the TT show.
And we'll see you next year.
Goodbye. This week on the final TT show for 2023, Intel's new Core Ultra is here. Sony is making its own DLSS. It really f***ed me up.
Every time. It's funny.
I know. This week on the final TT show for 2023, Intel Core... Intel's new Core Ultra is here. Sony is making its own DLSS. Intel's new Core Ultra is here. Sony is making its own DLSS. Oh no! It's here. Sony is making its own DLSS. I literally can't say it. Why can't I say it? This week on the final TT show for 2023, Intel Core This week on the final TT show for 2023. Man, I'm really bad at this today.